Welcome back, everyone, and we are straight back into the action with the mixed solo lower quarter final between Stuffed, Josh, Massa, and Gwen. I'm joined by Pyro for this one on the casting mics. We've given our thoughts already. Have you changed your mind? You know, it's been 2 minutes. You've had 2 minutes to change your mind.
No, I'm gonna wait until we see them actually on the track here. It's not even like that I have predictions locked. I just have stories I'm excited about. Again, Massa making this huge run in the lower bracket. Could they really pull the run all the way to the grand finals? That would be the storyline of the bracket for me. Stuffs, suffering a really tragic loss there in the upper semis that we just saw. How do you sort of dust the dirt off your pants and get up and try again after such a hot and cold run? I'm hoping they find a way to even out and be consistent here in the lowers. Still a few stages here to go, Ryan. Those are the stories I'm keeping an eye out for, but we've made it to the lower quarterfinals. We're getting close to the best of the best when it comes to the mixed solos.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Stuffed as well. Like, I had him in my top 5 for pick'ems. I'm sure a lot of other people did as well. Like, I think the people that remember what Stuffed was like playing in his prime in the TMGL, Trackmania World Tour, whatever it was called back then, like, professional Trackmania esports. People that know how good he was and know how good he was getting, and the potential was there. And this is his first tournament back, but I don't think he's lost any of that. I don't think that skill is still there. I just think that it kind of needs to be tapped into a little bit more. So a dark horse is how I'm going to label Stuffs, because I think, if we're talking about like a year ago when he's still playing before his break, I'd be putting him probably first in this match, to be honest. So I think he has that potential there. But yeah, Massa and Gwen, as you say, coming all the way through the lower bracket on their last chance for the previous 4 rounds, are still alive. And then there's Josh, who is just time attack god and is kind of on the ascendancy through the British and Irish Trackmania scene, and could pull an upset here. I said about Massa as well, like, if the mental starts to dip a little bit, if the frustration starts to creep in, we have seen that play a factor before. And if Josh is just putting in the solid rounds, then, we could see a scenario where Josh or even Stuffed is able to get that. I think Gwen is like, the thing with Gwen in a bracket like this, in a long form tournament, just gets better and better and better. The more he plays, the better he gets, the faster he gets, and the more dominant he becomes. So I think Gwen is a lock, and then the other 3 are like, something could happen to either of them. It's just whoever pops off.
Right, yeah, when we get to this stage, it really is. Everyone has the talent to move on, so who is going to pop off? And yeah, you may just rely on that lower bracket experience that you mentioned from Massa and Gwen and that upward trend. But maybe there is some experience to tap into if you are Stuffs from that, experience that they have competing in the professional Trackmania esport back when they did. But there is something exciting to me about the records you mentioned from Josh that they secured this morning, the time attack champion. If they can not even see a difference between time attack and competition, then, that's who I want to put my money on. But this is do or die. This is the lower bracket, and that makes it all the tougher. Who can actually ice up? Who can clutch up? There's no more upper bracket to be seen from these players. You got to move on. You got to top 2.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I remember Josh, whoever watched Trent on Track, that was a LAN held in Stoke-on-Trent in the UK. Josh played that, and after day 1, set world records on every single track in the event at 4 a.m, and then came in the next day at like 9 o'clock. Like, sup guys, I have all the world records now. You want to come challenge me? Like, come get it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, time attack Andy, but also starting to really show his form in some rounds. But I think that's enough talking from us, Pyro. We are going to be starting this match off very shortly. Interesting as well that we still have so many countries being represented in these lower finals. Obviously, we have the German and British pair in that upper final, but in the lower finals, we still have Sweden, Czechia, Germany. The Netherlands have 2 players in Alex W and Stuffed, and Josh, UK, Massa, another German, and Gwen flying the flag for France, the only remaining French player in the mixed solo.
Yeah, I think that's important to recognize because for Stuffs, okay, you don't carry your country's flag individually. You do have Alex on that other side of the lower bracket, but absolutely for Gwen as that one bearer of the French flag. That is all you've got to root for. So there is your competition. And here it is, your quarterfinals of the Mixed Solos tournament here for the Trackmania games to move on to our eliminated.
Starting off on Addiction and starting off with a mistake from Stuffs, which is going to put him about half a second behind the rest of the pack. Currently, Massa with a slim lead as we go into this flowing dirt section. Massa extending his lead out front. Gwen into the outside dirt. Should have a slightly better line, but touches the outside and now finds himself half a second back. Stuffed is just a bit too far to catch Gwen, but it is going to be a battle up the front for Josh and Massa. Massa does get that reactor boost. Thought he had just missed it there, but manages to snatch it by just a pixel, and we are already coming to the end of our first round here. Massa looks like he has the speed to get into that finish, and does so. 57.703, the winning time there. Josh tries he might, could not quite catch the German at the finish.
Yeah, I was hoping at this stage that for how many times we've ran Addiction that we would get these close finishes to start, but instead it's much of the same. Some early mistakes there from Stuffs. Gwen not able to keep foot with the rest, but as we begin round number 2, it's not quite as separated. Maybe a bit of a discrepancy there for Josh, but aside from that, Gwen, Massa, Stuffs toe-to-toe here as Gwen just barely inches forward.
Yeah, Josh with a poor start, and the front trio separated by less than 2/10 at the moment. Gwen in the lead of this round. Stuffs just behind after recovering from that mistake in the first round. And players not really able to catch each other. The position staying stagnant as things stand. Gwen still in the lead. Massa with that super inside line, challenging for second place as we go into the last couple of turns. Massa does move into second place, goes fully inside there. Stuffs is going to have more exit speed and does get the snipe as well. Great ending there from Stuffs to get that second place, just a couple of thousandths away from Massa in third. Gwen with a 57.5 would put him just outside the top 20 times set on Addiction.
It's a scary final turn there to take for Stuffs because you're going for the wider angle. Massa is going to pass you momentarily, but if you stick to it, you'll have the speed to finish out ahead. And that's exactly what they did. Again, a reminder, folks, this is the cup mode. First to 120 is in that finalized position. They just have to win that last race to qualify for the lower semis. So we talk about this being do or die in the lower bracket, Orion. You not only have to clutch up with it being do or die, you also have to clutch up at the very end to win a race and officially qualify yourself.
Yeah, you do. And Josh, try as he might, is just not having a great map at the moment. Currently in last place, 9 points is all he's had from the first 3 rounds. Just isn't getting the start right, although that's a mistake there from Stuffed, which is going to put him into third place. Once again, it's Gwen and Massa first and second as we go into the last couple of turns. Gwen didn't get it perfectly, but he's just about held on there. Massa 200ths behind. Josh not far off either. Had a great ending there to catch up to the pair of them. 57.7 from Gwen there. Within 4/10 of world record. The times are just relentless from the Frenchman.
We're seeing the lower bracket warrior story emerge here as Gwen and Massa had started from the very beginning of it and decided that anyone that drops down into their position, into their round, was going to be terminated from the tournament. So far, that's the case with Massa and Gwen exchanging wins, and Gwen there starting this round in the lead. Though, is this the resurgence from Josh, who's hanging around?
Yeah, I want to highlight Massa as well, particularly, who is often such a polarizing player, like an amazing player, but can just have those off days. right now looks impervious. Into a lead, looking consistent, hasn't made a mistake so far. Josh with a mistake there is going to further cement Massa's lead as he takes that inside line, carries more speed out of it as well. This could be a very important round win for Massa with Gwen just behind. Can he close it out here? Looks like he has the speed, gets into the finish, 57.5. Great time there from the German. And after 4 rounds on Addiction, it will be Massa in the lead of the match on 30 points, tied actually with Gwen.
Yeah, and you love to see it again from Gwen, the one and only French player remaining in the tournament. And a great first map for the two of them. We seem to be quite separated. The storyline nearly cemented after the first map, but I don't know, Ryan. We'd be silly to call it here, right? We still got 2 more maps to go. This could
Absolutely.
just be, it could just be Massa and Gwen's cup of tea, their bread and butter there on that first map. Plenty more to go as we have 3 maps in this pool.
Yeah, and this one, Josh has the world record on, which was set today, this morning. The only player in the 57.5s and drove a 57.555. In 6th place is Stuffed with a 57.628, and then just behind is Massa on a 57.642. Not seeing Gwen on this leaderboard, must have done all of his training offline, as I believe he has done in previous tournaments. So can't really tell you how Gwen stacks up in terms of time attack, but we have seen Gwen on this map already against Afi earlier, and Gwen seemed to be the best player in that lobby. On Cryomass, we'll have to see if he stacks up as the best player in this particular match.
We'll get started here, and we will quickly find out here as Gwen taking these icy turns quite nicely and holding on to what seems to be 3rd place. So a little bit of a switcheroo here as Gwen and Massa were used to seeing them in the lead, not making the mistakes, but in this case, Stuffs, the hot and cold, as I've mentioned them in this competition, at that moment of first place and streaks right back into it. A wider turn, though, could give Gwen the edge as they're toe-to-toe, tire to tire. And Stuffs takes the closer angle, and that gives them the advantage. Moving into the dirt, wide angle, managed, couple car lengths for Stuffs at first place could give them a great start in this second map, and that is exactly what they will secure.
Yep, big round for Gwen as well, extends his lead over Massa by 3 points. What's the time there? 57.685, which is only half a tenth off Stuffs' own PB. That is, yeah, and only a tenth off world record, so that's what Stuffed is capable of. That's the, the Stuffeds of old. And if he could bring that out every round, then, we'd be seeing a completely different picture. I just don't think the consistency is quite there. I'll eat my words if he goes and wins 4 rounds in a row, but ultimately doesn't seem to be quite as consistent as he once was. We've seen Massa make a mistake in this round, made a mistake in the previous round as well, and that compromised him for the ice turn, also making a mistake both in the previous round, and here is Josh, who is going to be about a second behind Stuffed and Gwen as we go through the next couple of checkpoints. Stuffed is looking really good here. Like, Gwen hasn't made a mistake, but Stuff's extending out a lead. I am interested to see what this time is, because these lines are near perfect right now.
Well, we saw probably the best start that they could have on this map, and sometimes players use that advantage to push the line even further. We'll see as, okay, 0.3 off of the world record. Stuff secures a 2nd win in a row, which goes to show that maybe we don't know exactly where this leaderboard will end up.
I mean, that's interesting, right? Because we came off the first map, Massa on 30 points, Stuffed on 16. They are now tied on 36 after 2 rounds. Stuffed's winning both of them, Massa last in both of them. So, it just shows how quickly things can change, how things can seesaw, and one player popping off 2 rounds in a row and one player making some mistakes can really change the dynamic all of a sudden.
Really strikes the difference between mixed solos and other formats. I mean, you have to have a variety of skill sets here on the different track types, on 3 different modes. Doesn't matter if you can perfect one, you've got to showcase it in all. And for consistency's sake, who we've seen perform the best out of this competition so far, that could be given to Gwen, who leads this round thus far, and a solid lead over Josh. Could secure them the win. That will. Yes, Gwen back up on top, continuing to extend that lead over Masa and Stuffs.
Yeah, Stuffs there from hero to zero, first, fourth. Masa with 2 fourth places and a third is not going to be happy with his performance on this particular map. And I would say that we are probably going to be deciding the match on this map as well. Once we get back to that rotation and there's a player or two on that finalist mode, this will probably be the map that decides it. So Masa, I'm sure, is not going to be feeling too great about that given his performance here. We'll see if once we get back round to it at the business end of this match, if he's able to find some pace and clutch up when it comes to it. But having a better round this time, all 4 players within a 1/10 of each other, very close round. Josh leading the charge just about. We do lose one player that is Gwen hitting the sidewall when it's going to be a good half a second down. Stuffs into a small lead over Josh as we go through the final drift onto the dirt. Masa with good speed. Josh, oh, it's so close. I can't pick a winner here. Masa's going to have better exit speed, although he does clip on the outside. Gwen is too far behind to make an impact, but Stuffs and Josh, it's tied. I knew it was going to be tied. They were neck and neck across the finish line, but because Stuffs was just a pixel ahead through that final or penultimate checkpoint, does get the round win.
I think Josh got the win there, if I'm not mistaken. I saw the +10 there beside Josh's name.
Wait, was it?
And I'm almost certain it was. Yeah, so explain that one to me, Orion. If the +000 is the change between 2 competitors, how is it decided?
Previous checkpoint. So the penultimate checkpoint of the map, the player that is ahead will then take the win. If they get exactly the same time.
I saw that +10 right beside Josh's name. And
okay, then Josh got it.
It goes to show that time attacking may have helped, but for Stuffs, that's the storyline of this map. Whether they win that race or not, they competed exactly how they needed to remain this competition. And on the other side of the storyline is, like you said, Masa, who starts off almost as well as you could possibly ask on the first map. But with map 2 potentially being the decider of Cryomass, it could brew up a little bit of trouble later on in this competition.
Yep, first round on Bourdon, and Josh once again has the world record here, a 54.855. Masa not too far behind on a 54.902 though. Let's see who has the line. Gwen goes for the wall bang. I didn't see Josh go for it. I think he must have made a mistake earlier on, but from what I know, the British players have all been sharing the intel on that. I know Boz and Epos both going for it, so wouldn't surprise me to see Josh as well. Stuffs with a small little clip there, puts him a couple of 10s behind Gwen and Masa, who are still, I was going to say first and second in the match. Gwen currently on 55 points. Masa now just trailing Stuffs by a single point. And Masa, with a mistake there, is going to allow Stuffs to come through. Gwen seeming to be winning the round, although Stuffs with a weird slowdown there, just about makes the reactor, but does not get onto that platform. Has to take the safe finish, and is going to be all the way in last. That is such a shame for Stuffs there.
It's not only like not making mistakes, but it's also not making mistakes at the worst time, right? You slow down right before that jump to the reactor, and all of a sudden you're tumbling down. Very unfortunate for Stuffs after it looked like a race, Orion, of just don't make a mistake, right? The top 2 were ahead because they hadn't wall brushed. And speaking of the wall, Josh once again trying to lead the effort on the bank, but even with the Great Britain players being the ones to share that strat amongst themselves, Josh still finds himself behind the top.
Yeah, it was a big crash for Stuffs behind as well, and that's a 5-second gap. So it's not going to be featuring in the top 3 for this round when trying to challenge Masa for first place. It's been a while since Masa won a round, so it would be good for the mental, good for the confidence if he can close this one out into the outside dirt. It's Josh with a mistake, Gwen with a mistake as well, paving the way for Masa to take victory, but Masa goes through the reactor the wrong way, down into 3rd place, might even be overtaken by Stuffs as well, just about manages to get it through. That was a golden opportunity for Massa, and unfortunately, he squanders it.
I mean, this is night and day from Cryomass. On Cryomass, we were seeing all the players push each other closer and closer to the world record. Very few mistakes. And now here on Bourdon, it's just mistake central. Bonk Nation. I don't know what else to call it, but just stay on the track here, Orion, and you might get a top 2.
I mean, it's looking like that for the match as well. Gwen has pulled out a lead of 21 points over Massa, who is currently on 54. Stuff's just behind on 51, Josh on 50. And I think that is just testament to the fact that all three of Massa, Stuffs, and Josh are kind of having their own mishaps, making their own mistakes. I was just about to say Gwen is out front for most of the rounds, but now we see Gwen 5 seconds behind, so not really helping me make my point there, but for the most part, Gwen has been the most consistent player.
Oh, and coming down to this finale, can Josh actually get this win? Massa gets on the right side of the reactor that time, but it won't help them pass Josh. Josh does secure it. And I hate to say this for Stuffs, but on the other side of the lower bracket where well, the other Dutch player is, there's about a 3-way tie for first place, and Alex is not one of them. So it may be up to Stuffs to be the one to get out of last place in this group and try to hoist that flag for their team.
Yeah, currently in that match, Brinken on 69 points, Elcon 67, New Prime on 67, Alex W back on 50. It's not looking great for the Dutch at the moment. Sorry, Spammy Guy, it's not looking so good for your team right now, but we'll see if we can see if they can clutch up and find a way back into their respective matches as we go back into this one. And it is a close round. No player making a mistake just yet. Gwen falling a little bit by the wayside through that drift there as the top 3 separated by a 10th as we go into the final couple of turns onto the grass. Who is it going to be? Stuffed with a slender lead. Can he take it through? It's all going to be up to who gets that reactor first. It looks like Stuffs. It is Josh. Gets that low jump and manages to get a 55-0. Insane time there. Great round coming through. Stuff's actually got sniped by Massa as well. Goes from 1st to 3rd, and Josh getting some solid points on the board. Moving into 2nd place in the match now over Massa as well.
Yeah, how that happened, don't ask me, despite the fact that I'm watching it very closely. Listen, there's a last place buff right now in this competition. If you're in last, I guess the pressure is off to perform really well. And that's what we saw from Stuffs on map 2. That's what we saw from Josh on map 3. And I think, you know, players ironing out the mistakes is a good thing. I think maybe most of them are going to be pretty happy to see if we don't go back to Bourdon, because there were a lot of tough lines, a lot of tough wall brushing that we saw, and some tough landings on the reactor as well, that maybe they're happy to go back to addiction here. All right.
I think 2 players that will be happy to be back here are Gwen and Massa, who put up 30 points apiece the first time that we were here, compared to Josh and Stuffs, who just managed 16 points apiece. And that's big for Massa as well, if you pardon the pun. Big for Massa. Anyway, Josh is on 70 at the moment. Massa trails him by 4. So Massa needs that swing to go in his favor to try and secure 2nd place in this match, particularly as we are going on to Cryomass next, where Massa did not look to have the pace or the consistency.
And at the moment, we talk about that middle of the road competition. Gwen with an 11-point lead from 2nd place, and a top 2 here certainly helped that case. Where to tire these 2 still are, as Josh trails right behind them. Gwen has the ability to take the edge here. Maybe the extra speed here on the wider gaps, but Massa holding that lead, holding the win, but maybe not. No! Gwen 0.01 behind Massa. I thought that they would take the lead in the final pixel.
I think Gwen actually had the speed there and was in front of Massa. Had he gone, you know, as far left as he could for that finish, because you come at it at an angle, probably would have taken the win there, but just because he was slightly to the right, coming over that final jump, over the ramp, Massa takes the win by 15 thousandths of a second, and that's a hugely important round for Massa. I was going to say in the context of getting second place, but a mistake right at the start. He is 6/10 adrift. Gwen into first. Josh, his nearest competitor, is in third, so there may be a way back for Massa yet if Josh makes a small mistake here.
Certainly the case, but raising that bar as high as they can possibly put it is Gwen. Couple car lengths ahead. Having that boost with the back tire, holding it, but there's really no room for mistakes here as all four racers are just in a line here. Gwen, is it the narrow angle needed? Not quite. It's just a easy finish here to take another 10 points. And, you know, by the end of this map, Orion, Gwen might be pretty darn close to that 120.
Yeah, I mean, another 2 perfect rounds would put him on 117, but regardless of how he does from now, he is, what, quick maths, 18 points ahead of Massa, and I think right now Massa's battle isn't with Gwen, neither Josh's. Yeah. I think Gwen is kind of far and away the player that has looked best over the however many rounds we've played so far. I want to say 15 rounds we've played so far. And I think it is going to be at least a 2-way fight between Massa and Josh for that final spot in the lower semi-final. Stuffed has not looked to be, you know, incredible. He's been good. You know, you put Stuffs in any other match and he looks fantastic, but just too many mistakes coming out from the Dutchman. Mistake from Josh there, missing that reactor, is allowing the battle to ensue between Massa and Gwen. Ooh. Massa with a big mistake on the bug slide, though, and goes all the way back to last place with that respawn as well. That is going to be terrible for Massa because Josh ends up in second place and gains 3 points over his German competitor.
That's right. You mentioned it. The competition very much between Josh and Massa has lost that lead. You know, we talked about Massa potentially trying to end things on Cryomass, and now we get to this point, and really that's just the story for sure for Gwen. The competition remains very close, and I would also argue that for Stuff's map number 2 here of Cryomass was their best performance. Maybe it's enough to close the gap and make for a very interesting finish on Bourdon. We will have to see here as Josh wants to extend that lead against Massa. They have the chance to, but currently they are the ones at top 2. Stuff still competing against Massa here. Try to snipe a second place as we inch closer to the finish. Josh still that car length ahead, and Gwen, they have to trail back to a 4th that they won't mind particularly much. The order may remain here as we get to the final turn. One right bank, and Massa trying to get the narrow angle just to take the lead. Won't be able to do it, but to Massa's credit, they didn't bonk that time, so they do finish the race.
Yeah, that was a slow round there. 3 players making a mistake. Massa first, followed by Stuffed and Gwen. Massa was able to overtake them both for second place. Josh, looking at the splits, drove a 58 flat, which is a good 7/10 off the world record and much slower than previous rounds that we've seen. So just driving those safer lines, not risking as much, holding on to that first place, hugely important. It's a 4-point swing over Massa there. And as we go back into Cryomass, it is Josh in second place. Gwen on 110 points. I think Gwen looked like the strongest player on this map earlier. Apart from, I mean, Stuffs looked pretty good, but I feel like Stuffs is maybe a little bit too far away from those top 2 players in Josh and Massa to really mount a comeback now. Gwen, I think, takes it here, but yeah, this did not look like a good map for Massa before. 4th place, 3rd place. I don't remember the other result. I feel like it was maybe 3rd. So in terms of the fight between Massa and Josh, it's going to be really tough for Massa here if he can't find some form on Cryomass.
Yeah, Massa, absolutely the player to watch on this map. We're expecting that win from Gwen, so for better or for worse, you know, it is the bar they have set for themselves. So high expectations moving into Cryomass, but you know, can Stuff still make that comeback? I don't know. You're saying you're kind of counting them out, but with this format, you do still have to win that final race. So I'm holding out for the potential comeback.
I can definitely see Stuffs getting to 100 plus points. Does Stuffs get to finalist? I'm struggling to see a reality where that happens, to be honest. Massa is having a good round on Cryomass though, and Josh in last would be the biggest possible swing of points. Massa just needs to hold on here. Last couple of turns, he's got a gap of 2/10, can drive a little bit safer towards the finish, and does so. Makes it in 57.8. Great time there from Massa. Great way to respond. Josh comes home in 4th place. 7-point swing. Massa, with that, I think goes back into 2nd place. Yes, he does. 98 points to 97. Gwen within 4 points of finalist. 1st, 2nd, or 3rd in this round will be good enough to get him there.
You know, it's important to mention as well. I mean, they've staved off Gwen for another round of being on that victory point. So credit due to Massa for pushing them off. At this point, though, for Gwen, you can perform however you like. You're going to get as close as you could ask for, just about, for top 3, which is where they'll find themselves toe-to-toe with Massa. Josh trying to keep that lead at the very least against Massa, but they're going to have to work for it as it's very tight into these narrow angles. Gwen does get a little distance, it seems, on Massa, but then they'll close the gap once again. Josh just barely holding on to that. What a turn from Gwen into the dirt. Ends up brushing up just a little bit to lose that lead. And now, tire to tire, Josh and Massa. Has Massa really taken the lead and finished for the win? Yes, they have. It just keeps going back and forth with these two.
Yeah, Massa is locked in now. Like, that was a crazy round. So important to clutch up there. Goes on to 108 points. Josh now on 103, trailing by 5. And Josh not making any major mistakes, just Massa driving faster. There is a clip from Massa on the pole at the start, though, and you have to say that is a careless one to concede. Gwen on to finalist. Can he take it this round? Not in the lead currently, a 10th back behind Josh. If Josh can win this round with Massa in last place, that would swing the pendulum back in Josh's favor.
Certainly would. Again, Josh, your only GB player here in the lower bracket, 2 in the upper finals. Can they increase the odds to take mixed solos? That is a tough brush there for Gwen, and we will see Gwen in another race. It does seem, as Josh and Stuffs, the 2 remaining to take the win. Josh wants that huge gap between him and Massa, but Stuffs competing for it, trying to get the first on a map they did so well before on, but they will not take it. Josh does secure first place. An important 6-point difference between him and Massa.
Yeah, and you can see how much that finish matters as well. Like, Stuffs was actually in front, but Josh managed to just get that more inside line by 6 thousandths and take the win, which in the context of points, that's 4 extra points for himself over Massa. They're both alive in this round. Gwen has crashed again here, so will not be taking it. Gwen DNFs as well, another crash there. Josh and Massa are going to be fighting it out for this finalist, and we could see potentially even a triple finalist play out here if Gwen can't convert it. 2 rounds, 2 match points for Gwen squandered. We could even see Josh and Massa make it through at this point.
I mean, we talked about the fact that you have to clutch up because it's do or die here in the lower bracket, but the most clutch scenario is when you are that finalist in an early mistake. When in a race you have to win, you start to consider that, and the DNF makes sense.
Massa.
But could the story be for Stuffs, who's got the extra lead to get this win? I mean, you consider this, Josh and Massa, they need a win here to be on finalist, and neither of them will get it with the Stuffs victory.
What a time from Stuffs as well. 57.628. That equals his PB. I'm sure he's furious about that because, you know, you always want to beat it, but man, like less than a 10th off the world record. But that is the last time that we'll see Cryomass. I thought we might get at least first place decided there, and arguably we should have been. Gwen, 2 rounds in a row on finalist, not converted. Josh, thankfully for Gwen, ends up on the cursed 119. So in whatever position Josh finishes the next round, he will go on to finalist. If Massa finishes in 4th, then he will also be on 119 for the next round. So crucial that Massa doesn't make a mistake as well. And then Stuffed's back on 99. I said he'd get over 100 points. I don't think he gets to finalist here, unfortunately.
It's incredibly difficult. That 99 is absolutely cursed. Listen, it's not impossible. That's what I love about these cups is you just have to win every race. That's all. As we get
Simple
into
task.
finished final map, and that is the case for Gwen in the final race that they will be the only finalist. Can they just secure that lower semis right here? And already off the bat, Orion, it's not the best start for Gwen. What a bank there, but they mess up as their tires kind of slide into the gap.
Yeah, arguably the worst start for Gwen. Another round on finalist, another crash, but it is Stuffed in first place right now. Whatever happens this round, Josh will go on to finalist, but obviously he wants to take as many points away from Massa as he can. However, Josh, with a mistake of his own, drops all the way back to fourth place. Massa in second, challenging Stuffs for the lead. We have seen some mistakes from both of these players at the end. Who is going to get into the finish first? Massa gets into the reactor first, but Stuffs able to carry the speed. 55-0 to win the round. Massa and Josh both on finalists. We have a triple finalist situation here. Gwen has missed 3 match points, and now he has 2 players on finalist with him. This is unprecedented, Pyro, and I am here for it.
The pressure is on here for Gwen, the only French player remaining in the tournament. They've been on finalists for so long. And it looks like Massa is going to have to wait for another race unless we see total collapse from the other players. Gwen gets the start they need. Is it only now, when the rest of the players nearly have the finalist position, that they're able to take the pressure and turn it into a win? Does it make diamonds, or could they crash and burn as we're halfway through this one?
Stuffs and Massa both making big mistakes. Gwen and Josh both on finalist. Gwen with a slender lead of a 10th as we go through the last couple of checkpoints. One outside dirt turn left, and then the finish. Gwen makes it through the checkpoint cleanly. Who gets into the finish cleanly? Josh with a respawn. It is going to be Gwen through to the next round of the lowers, but we still have 2 players on finalists. Stuffed on 115 has to deny. If Stuffs wins this round, we go triple finalist again. If not, either one of Massa or Josh will be joining Gwen in that lower bracket semi-final. Who will it be?
And I believe this is the fate of the Dutch, as Alex in the other lower quarters is very much behind the competition. It could all come down here to Stuffs for the Dutch, but they've got to make a miraculous effort here out of the win. A very important wall bank here. I don't know if any player actually went for it. It feels like the safe approach for a lot of these competitors, as it's still neck and neck. Stuffs, had a lead, but ends up getting chipped there. Takes it back for a moment. It's just too close to call.
Yeah, really close. It's all going to come down to the ending. Josh has a slightly wider line here. Massa going over the bumps, losing speed. Josh is going to have to zigzag a little bit more through these turns. Gets a decent drift, but it's still Stuffed. Massa, Josh, the order as we go into the last couple of turns. Josh with a lot of speed. Can he get in front of Massa? It's not going to matter. Stuffs can get into the finish first. Does he get there? It is Stuffed. 10 points for Stuffed. Triple finalist once again, Pyro. This match keeps delivering.
I told you it was possible. I told you the comeback could happen, and here it is. Potentially the final hope for the Dutch on Stuffs on an incredible comeback streak. You have Josh hoping that GB can hold 3 players in this tournament, and Massa has had an unbelievable lower bracket run. Could they make it yet another round through? They've got to do it here, as Massa doing well enough to stay in the competition. All 3 players have no room for mistakes.
Josh with the wall bang takes the lead, has a slightly wider line on the plastic, and Massa is going to close up. Stuffed just behind, all 3 players still in it. We saw the previous round can go any way. Stuffs with more speed on the drift, has a bad landing though. Looks like it's going to be between Josh and Massa. Stuffs now a 10th behind, and a mistake there from Stuffs as well. Josh and Massa inseparable. Going to come down to this ending. Josh with a touch. It's all on Massa to clutch it up. I think Massa might have clipped. He might not have. Takes the reactor, takes the finish. makes it through. Massa with the clutch at the end. What a match, though. Any player deserved to make it through, but ultimately it is Gwen of France and Massa of Germany advancing through. They will be joined by Brinken of Sweden and Elkon of Czechia.
This is what happens when you put the top of the top in this mixed solos tournament for the Trackmania games. You get cinema, a triple finish there between the potential qualifiers. And again, that devious lower bracket run of both Gwen and Massa will continue. Again, they started from the deepest of depths from the lower bracket and have somehow survived all the way to the lower semifinals. I mean, Orion, imagine being either of these players and seeing that long stretch in the lower bracket and thinking, that's impossible. But what if?
I mean, well, first of all, before we discuss this anymore, maybe we can bring the rest of our panel back in because, you know, my heart rate's up here, my adrenaline's up here. Absolutely insane match. Twiggy, Geek, I'll come to you first, Twiggy. How was that as a spectator?
That was wonderful as a spectator. I was just eating while I was watching it, and you know how, like, to eat you need some entertainment? That's what it was.
Yeah.
It more than qualified. It more than qualified as entertainment. I absolutely loved that. I was rooting for Josh till the very end, but I mean, when you have that many finalists, anything can happen, and what cinema. I just realized I'm the host. None of you are going to take that from me. I don't know. I was acting like I was one of you.
I mean, I want to get Geek's take on it with going through. You've still got a French player, right?
I kind of came in a little bit later to the party, given that I had to do some refueling myself. But having taken a look at some of the harder data with the round times and whatnot, and I gotta be honest, I wasn't seeing Gwen as dialed in as he was looking dialed in earlier on in the game, so I'm glad to have been proven wrong. And I'm also glad that he was able to pull through because it's very much a case of, like, going to finalist is one thing, closing out a finalist is quite another. He's been finalist for so long, and this is the kind of thing where it really kind of, like, rattles your brain. You can see that you're not able to conclude, and you can see the gap starting to creep back down, and you're like, please, I just need this round. He did get the round that he needed to win, though, and I gotta say, stellar final comeback by Stutz. Unfortunate for Liam, he did come up just short, but, I mean, golf claps all around. That was a stellar comeback. And we were discussing among ourselves while we were talking, this is such a Stutz way to try and come back from the brink of elimination like that.
Yeah, I mean, it is just one of those, like, you said it on the broadcast, it would have been just the most Stutz thing to do possible. But alas, that is not how it's going to be. But now we have our top 8 going into this one. We've got obviously the upper bracket waiting for everything to be done over here. The other match is done as well. Brinken and Elkon are the 2 players that qualify to the losers finals, other than what we just saw there. So your thoughts on that? Obviously, I know all of you kind of thought New Prime was gonna be getting through on that one. So G-Geek, since you're not just learning this information now, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, for me, definitely not what I picked. I would have expected New Prime to have a bit more facility, but apparently he also had some trouble closing it out. But one thing that I was looking through the data on eCircuitMania.com about the match is how dialed in Brinken looked on Cryomass. There have been 2 rotations where Cryomass has been played, and out of 8 rounds that have been played, 5 of them were won by Brinken. And in the other rounds that he has played, if I do take a look at that, he's been finishing 3rd place, 2nd place, and the other one, if I can find it in the other rotation, and Brinken 1-1-4-1. There was only 1 4th place in Cryomass throughout the entire 8-round run that this map has been played on. So definitely a key factor in his ability to actually close out the match and finish first in the match. 122. He was the first one to close out the finalist, actually. That's probably the most surprising thing for me.
Yeah, so there is our losers finals, or our lower bracket finals there, which will decide the 2 other players who are going to be playing against the losers from the upper bracket finals. So a really stacked one. Again, another German player in there, though I think it was, more likely than not that we did get an extra German player in this match. This is one, again, it's really stacked. This is now down to the wire. So, Pyro, what are your thoughts going into this one? If not just in terms of the skill of the players, the mentality of the players at this point.
Well, we talked about the fact that you got to ice up here, just in the cup mode. It's do or die in the lower bracket, but then you have to get that final win. And for Gwen, I'm going to be watching them specifically, right? They held on to that finalist position for a little too long to my liking, getting a little nervous. It wasn't until 2 other players had the finalist position that they finally closed it out. So do you have what it takes to close out? But also speaking about this lower bracket, check out the representation. Sadly, the 2 Dutch players do get eliminated, the final 2 that were remaining in the lower bracket, but you do still have Czechia. You do still have Sweden with that representation for, when you compare that against the upper bracket where you just have 2 Great Britain players, 2 German players, it's good to see the variety here in the lowers.
Yeah, and Orion, from you as well. Do you have any thoughts on, seeing as Brinken managed to make it through there on that other game, does that change your mind on who is going to be coming out of this lower finals here into, the other lower finals?
I don't know. I really wanted to pick Brinken, to be honest, to go through, but I was so sold on G-Geek's new Prime propaganda that I ended up switching.
Can you really blame me? Honestly, looking at...
he's out, so yes, I can.
That's a 25% blame. I'll take that, but honestly, no more. Because
okay, all right.
You can't put me for my pick looking at the recent history of New Prime, right? But yeah, honestly, good on Brinken for me, being able to really pull it off that way.
Yeah. Sorry, no, go for it.
I was just going to talk about that semi-final a bit more. Yeah, Brinken now kind of represents an unknown because I don't think I've seen a match with him in, whereas I've looked at all the other players now. It was hard to call the lower quarterfinals, right? It's even harder here. You look at that and you go, yeah, any player should deserve to make it to that lower final. I don't think it's easy for us to sit here and go, that one, That's
right.
what I'm struggling with right now.
Yeah, and of course, after this game as well, the top 2 are going to be moving and playing up against 2 of the players from our upper finals as well, which is going to be even more of a tough test. We've seen what Epos and Grenadi and Bozbez look like in that one, what Leicester is going to look like as well. It's going to be scary no matter who makes it through this one. The final challenge to get into the grand finals hasn't, we haven't reached it yet. That extra game is going to be a real tough test for these guys. So do you think anybody, not just in terms of the times that they set, but in terms of the mentality, is more likely than any other to get through, G-Geek?
I'd say Massa might be looking to try and actually use that semi-final that he had in a little bit of a rather shaky run that he had towards the very tail end of it to try and actually use that to galvanize himself and try to push through the barrier a little bit stronger. I'm also expecting Gwen as well to try and use that, but it's going to be a bit of a tougher one to call because honestly, you look at the lineups of Brinken, Gwen, Elcon, and Massa going through that, it's going to be an absolutely stacked thing. And there is a very real scenario, and that is there's a non-zero probability, I guess I can say, that 2 nations could get wiped out. Sweden, the Czech Republic, and France are on their last representatives, their last competitors in the tournament, whereas Germany is still in, of course, as we mentioned, with Granadi, Leicester, and Massa, making it 2 players still in for the UK. So this is very much, we often say do or die, but for these 3 nations, Sweden, the Czech Republic, and France, it is going to be do or die times 100.
Yeah, with this this few players kind of remaining in the tournament, as we have gone, obviously the test has got a lot harder, but as well as that, now that you are kind of the final one remaining. Back in the first round, you had so many representatives from each of the countries that had several representatives in there. And now you're just kind of on your lonesome. You're at the peak of the mountain. Now you actually have to get it done when it matters, right? And the cup mode is very similar to that. You need to get to the finalist, and then you need to close it out in that sense. But it's just doubled at this level. And I think for everybody wanting to just be that player for your country, earn your country a medal, it counts for more than just your own pride. So, we will see. But apparently we have... country highlights or team highlights that we can take a look at. So I think one that we should be looking at right now is Germany at this point. We have seen German players in every single game so far today, and they are making up the lion's share of all the players that are remaining in this one, while, yes, we still have British players up at the top as well. So many German players making representation happen in these top levels. Orion, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I had them first in my pick'ems from the start, so, go to opinion there. No, wait, no, I didn't. I've got the UK.
Oh.
Yep.
Ooh.
Proper Brexit prediction there. But I mean, the Germans were up there, 100%. Like they were always going to be. We saw in tech earlier that they were able to overcome France, the UK, and the Netherlands. There's just so many players in so many different disciplines. Like another player, I guess we could highlight is Lars in the Fast Learn, who has put hundreds of hours into random map challenge and is probably going to absolutely destroy the competition there, along with players like Scrappy as well. But yeah, just across all sectors. I mean, you've got Chroma in full speed as well. I think the only players that could realistically compete with Chroma are Josh and Mudder. Like, obviously the mixed solo is, like the pure competitive Trackmania, but it's great to see we've got all of these different styles, and Germany is really using their kind of breadth of competition to really kind of stake their claim on all of these events that we've got here.
Yeah, of course.
If I mean, interject.
Go for it.
If I may interject, you're talking about Chroma on full speed.
Yeah.
But there's one name at the very top of that pile. Everybody has been sleeping on him since the ceremony ends. Never counts ends out. He's arguably one of the guys that is very much at the sharp end of the full speed realm. Very much. You have to keep an eye on him. He's been part of so many lineups that have been very much at the very tall end of the full speed scene, whether it be in full speed master series, full speed full speed masters, FSL, full speed league, SPS, you name it. Also, yeah, Kirill also the German team is going to be one tough team to fight against in full speed, and honestly I would see them take gold with a very high likelihood. Let's be honest.
All right, guys, I do have to cut you off there because we are very, very quickly moving it forward into the next stage. Obviously, Germany looking to get as many representatives in as far as they can in this one after a gold medal, obviously, in tech mixed tech team, as well. So they are looking to pincer move their way through into the grand finals, and our next game, the lower semi-finals, is going to be up next to decide who is going to be in that lower finals. So be with us once again very shortly. It just keeps heating up, so you can't go anywhere. You can't